So now we're going to move on to our next presentation. And in this one, we're focusing on cellular IoT technology roadmap. So from LTE-M to NB-IoT through to Cat-1 BIS and the transition into 5G eRedCap. And for this presentation, I would like to invite to the stage Nicolas Damour, our Senior Director for Strategic Partnership from Semtech, and also the co-chair of IoT Steering Group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm very honored to be able to talk to you today a little bit about technology, community, and in fact, speaking about community, I'm actually stepping in for our partner, my business partner and friend, Igor Torfberg of Sony Altair. I'm going to be presenting his slides and talk to you about that sense of community around IoT and give you a vision of the longevity that Jens was talking about a moment ago, looking back in the past a little bit, but mostly looking towards the future, hopefully helping you out to find your way through that maze of different, through that jungle of different technologies lying ahead of us. All right, so let's dive into it. So first, I was saying we would reflect a little bit back on the past. As Barbara introduced the IoT Summit today, she was celebrating, also Chantal, celebrating our milestone of 1 billion cellular IoT devices deployed globally. And I think this is very important because this can give a sense of the hard work when we started about a decade ago with LTE-M narrowband IoT. So we've gone through that, the technology was established, it was deployed. There were challenges, obviously, but now we are there, and we're not stopping there. So in the last decade or so, 1 billion cellular device deployed globally, and I would say probably in the next decade, we may hit 10 times that number. So we're still working on that, so I think the whole community of companies, individuals, and businesses can be very proud of that achievement. Now, looking forward, of course, I'll give you a small glimpse into the evolution of the cellular technologies and what we're looking at in the future. Of course, you've been on the show, you've looked at several keynotes, everything is about AI, but it's also more about transforming the way our businesses operate. We are here to help the different vertical industries to spread out, so connected devices, connected processes, and eventually, through the help of AI and connectivity, bridge the physical and the digital world to allow that seamless connectivity that everyone is counting on. Looking at the evolution of the cellular technology here, so I remember when I graduated as an electrical telecom engineer, it was in 2000, so at the turn of the century, now 26 years later even, we're not talking about 3G as the latest technology on the block. We are talking a lot about 5G. In fact, we're already talking a lot about 6G in standardization fora, about ambient IoT and looking ahead. I will not talk too much about 6G IoT today, focusing just on 5G, but this gives you a sense of how cellular connectivity, cellular technology has been consistently delivering a reliable ways of communication for the world in general, from phones to connected devices over decades. So this is really your technology of choice. If you want scale, if you want stability and confidence in the future, that's really what we should be looking at. Now, ecosystem, community. Jens was emphasizing that very much. It is very important in IoT. Customers realize that whenever they need to build an IoT solution together, they have to look for devices, for connectivity, for SIM cards. We heard a lot about SIM cards earlier and eSIM. There's the possibility now of satellite IoT. So it's so complex that no single customer can be on their own and figure all of that on their own. So it's very important, and that's what GSMA is doing very well, bringing different companies together, so infrastructure vendors, the people who set up the cell towers, to enable global coverage. That's network operators, MNOs, so mobile network operators, mobile virtual network operators, even in the sky now, as we heard a moment ago, with non-terrestrial networks. And obviously, the actual device that you want to deploy on the field, so from the chipsets from different companies building the chipsets, to module makers that integrate those chipsets in easier to use chips, and then all the way to an end product like a smart meter, a tracker, or any connected device. So it's very important that we all work together, and that's what we're doing within that GSMA community, so that we can bring, for IoT devices, we can bring the combination of the lowest possible cost. That's very important to a lot of use cases, because otherwise there's no business rationale to deploy the solution. So if it's not economically viable, it just won't work and it won't be deployed. So low cost is important. The size is important in many, many applications. So size is very important in the IoT space, and also long battery life. Of course, we all have 5G phones. For phones, size is somewhat important, but long battery life, we would like to have a long battery life, but a day or so is usually what we're used to. We're not used to 15 years of battery life. And the low cost, well, we love low cost phones, but this is less of a business incentive. So, but for business processes, business applications, we're really looking at that combination, and only through a good working ecosystem, we can bring that to the customers. So the ecosystem, the community is very important, and I will stress again what Jens was saying. If you feel involved in those technologies, just come to us, come to me, come to Jens, come to Chantal, write to the email address that Chantal was showing earlier, because we're really welcoming any contribution to that community. Ecosystem. Now, I'll pay a little tribute to Igor and to Sony. So Igor, as Jens was saying, is now the new chairman of the 5G IoT Strategy Forum. I used to be vice chairman of that one, so we are kind of rotating every once in a while. So it is again a very strong community, and everyone is bringing their bit of knowledge, their bit of technical knowledge, marketing knowledge, use cases. So it's in all fields of the industry, as you can see at the bottom line here. It's very important that we all work together. Now, having spoken about the history, about the community, now I will talk a little bit more about the choice of technology, because that's very often a concern that I hear from customers, from partners. I'm looking to deploy an IoT solution on the field. What technology should I use? Is it LTE-M? Is it narrowband IoT? Is it 4G, Cat-1, Cat-1B? So many strange acronyms. I have no clue what it means, so I'll walk you through this. I think first, as a user, there is one thing in the cellular space that you should look at. What are your needs on the left-hand side? So are you talking about an application that will use a sizable amount of data, so a high amount of data, in the tens of megabits per second in throughput, but also in monthly usage, a lot of data? Or quite in the middle, so the middle would be in terms of throughput in the order of magnitude of 1 megabit per second? Or are you really looking at low data rates and high longevity in terms of battery life? So depending on that question and looking at the timeline, we are hoping to bring you some answers here. So first, looking at the high segment. So this is typical, the cars or the phones. And to be fair, that transition for 4G to 5G has already happened. Just by show of hand, who has a 5G-enabled phone in their pockets right now? And who still has, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, still just 4G phone? No one? Well, there you go. So, well, one or two people still. Okay, so you can see that transition in the high end, so for connected devices in the high end of the spectrum, has more or less already happened, all right? But now if we look, say, and your technology in choice for long term is definitely so NR Extreme Mobile Broadband or eRedCap that we were talking about for IoT. eRedCap, by the way, I don't know if everyone is aware of that, it's short for reduced capability, so it's not the full power of 5G, but it's more than enough for most high-end IoT applications. So that's what eRedCap actually means. Now, if you're looking at the medium range, there used to be, and Jens were talking about that a moment ago, so it's LTE, so long-term evolution, LTE Category 1, Category 1 bis,
which is category 1, meaning 1 to 10 megabits per second, more or less, and bis, meaning that you just need one antenna and not two antennas. That's the difference between the two. So that's a very common technology these days. It works fine globally on all 4G networks. So it's been adopted for the IoT space in a number of IoT applications, from wearables to alarm panels, fleet management, and it's working all right. The only problem is that the world is transitioning from that technology already. Some network operators in North America, for example, they won't accept new business, new IoT 4G devices on their networks anymore. So it's more than time now to think about the next step in that segment for the IoT application. And the technology of choice here is eRedCap. E meaning enhanced reduced capability. In fact, it means that it's further reduced compared to RedCap. So it's cheaper. It's a little bit less powerful in terms of data throughput, obviously, but it's more than enough for all of these mid-tier applications. So if you've got 4G devices or LTE Cat-1, Cat-1 bis on the networks today deployed, that's all fine. It's going to last for some time still. But if you're looking at new solutions, this is where you should be looking at new technologies like RedCap and especially eRedCap. Now, on the low end of the technology space, let's talk a little bit more about LTE-M and narrowband IoT. So LTE-M, long-term evolution for machines, and narrowband IoT, also IoT. So these two technologies were introduced about 10 years ago. That's when we speak about the 1 billion devices here. But they're not going to disappear anytime soon. Yes, for sure, spectrum will be reduced. Lots of network operators will reallocate some spectrum to 5G spectrum, but these are 5G technologies, don't be mistaken, and these are going to be around for a long time. So if you're really looking at the lowest possible power consumption, say smart metering for water metering, that's a very good example where you have no power or battery power trackers, this is your technology of choice. So it's going to be around. It is a 5G technology, so low power wide area, LTE-M and narrowband IoT, as Jens was saying before, is going to be there for some time. So this is trying to give you an overview of what you should be looking at. Now, another way to look at it is maybe this technology selection guideline. Again, if you're looking at the low end of the spectrum on the far left, then especially looking for low data rates, long battery life, and low price, you're looking at narrowband IoT and LTE-M. If you're looking at mid-tier, again, so it's a little bit more complex, but in terms of throughput, price, and battery life, like in the mid-range, then today the applications are Cat-1, Cat-1 bis, but in the future, you're really looking at eRedCap. The important part at the bottom is that there is a small distinction between half duplex frequency division duplex, HD-FDD, and FDD, full duplex frequency division duplex. That's getting a little bit technical here. I'll explain in a moment quickly, just to give you a taste of what that means. And then, of course, on the high end, we're still looking at RedCap, and you'll have more than enough data throughput. Now, the small difference between half duplex and full duplex here, if I go to the next slide, so sorry, it's maybe getting a little bit technical here. A full duplex technology means that the IoT device, the radio, is transmitting at the same time toward the network and receiving at the same time on the same antennas. That's why it's called full duplex. So you've got two different frequencies, and you use the same antenna with two different frequencies. Not very different, but a small gap between the two, as you can see in the top left corner, over time. So this is very, very, very efficient for high-speed communication. This is why you're using that in the high end of the applications. But if you're not so interested in having high throughput data, you can go what's called half duplex, where you send, you receive, you send, you receive, and you don't do the same thing at the same time. So you don't send and receive at the same time. The big advantage of half duplex technology at the bottom is that it does not require a lot of filters to separate the incoming stream from the outgoing stream. You spare all of these filters in the electronic design, and that's how you can manage better battery life and better cost, and also better size. So this is why the difference is important. This is why in low power applications, you're really looking at half duplex applications rather than full duplex. Now, if you want to know more, we can talk aside. I won't bother you anymore with more technology. But I think the takeaway here is that with half duplex technology, because you're getting rid of all of these filters, you can have very low power, very low cost, and also global products that can be deployed in all frequencies all around the world, because you don't have these filters per frequency anymore. It works everywhere. We'll probably see the two options on the market, but depending on your needs, if you're deploying just on one continent or globally, this is a question you should be asking yourself. Now, so that's a little bit of a reminder, summary of the choice here. So again, if you're looking at very low power applications, narrowband IoT LTE-M, mid-tier, you're looking at eRedCap, probably half duplex FDD, and if you're looking at high-end applications in the IoT space, you're looking at RedCap. So I'll finish with this then. So 4G will start sunsetting in about 2030 timeframe. Cat-1, Cat-1bis is already a technology of the past, I would say. So if you're looking at new deployments, look at something else rather than 4G and 5G, especially if your deployment guideline, if your deployment timeline is in 10, 15 years. And LTE-M narrowband IoT will still be operated well within the next 10, 15, and maybe even 20 years. All right, and with that, I think I'm done, and I'll leave this floor to Chantal. Thank you very much.